the time to be with me on this afternoon on a journey of self-discovery. Um, I'd like to start with my prayerful salutations at the lotus feet of my Baba. Salutations and deep gratitude to my Guru Ratnaswami Sirji and Hanumanji. Immense gratitude and love to my very good friend and colleague Reena Shah, and gratitude to all of you present here, from whom I have learned in very many different ways. So, self-awareness and picking up, adapting, learning and growing has been my journey. I believe every phase in my life has had lessons for me, and picking up those lessons and moving on from a point has been um, a journey. So when I take the question, what makes me me? So when I look at my personality, I feel the circles of affective and environment intersecting, and I know that that makes me. Um, Sergi, just one question.
Yeah,
Was
please.
Were you able to see the previous two slides, Sergi?
Yeah. No problem. Please go.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Sergi. Right. So when I look at my personality and I see and I look at what makes me me, it's very simple. It is an intersection of two circles for me. That is my personality, affective, and that too at that 100% effective personality, intersecting with the environment that I grew up in, from which I absorbed a lot of things. And I think these two things made me the person that I am today. Um, Being 100% effective personality, adaptability, being flexible, being able to mold myself, and most importantly, coming from the space of emotions is what defines me. So when I say emotions, whether it is positive emotions or negative emotions, both these emotions um, are the space from which I process information, or I decide and have my decision making skills, or any part of my thinking, execution, everything comes from the space of emotions. So, what I have learned um, from this is I feel my life's biggest lesson has been balance, emotionally being balanced. When in an emotionally balanced state or in a positive space, whether it is motivation or it is positive words, um, all these work on me beautifully. But when I come from a space which is not very positive, a negative space, it takes me some time, which I've been working on, to get back on the saddle, so to speak, and then optimism reigns. I'm naturally a very happy person, quite positive in my thinking, and very adaptable. Just the way the water flows, I'm more or less like that. And the picture I picked on the left side of waterfalls, I picked it for a reason, because just the way the emotions flow, one into the other, and then they come down to settle themselves. That is what I've always felt my life's biggest lesson was, to be emotionally balanced. One of the things that had always been playing in my mind, I could say probably from about my teenage, and more so after I got married, one of the questions that would keep ringing in me was, why is it that I accept things easily? Why is it that I do not question? So these were two things that would always pop into my mind. And, accepting others' opinions and confirming is so much part of me that sometimes there's no stopping to think. So this was one of the questions that was really working in my mind. And as a coping mechanism, what I had began to do was, if there was something that I believed in, if I had a belief which I strongly had, I had strong thoughts about, I would hold on to these beliefs very um, assertively. Actually, assertively is a very tame word. I'd be very adamant about these beliefs. And adamancy in these beliefs would end up in challenges for me. And then it would be very difficult. I would end up, facing challenges and getting into a little bit of a trouble. But I did not realize that I had created this as a coping mechanism. Now, why was I doing that? One of the things when I thought through, when I think back also was, um, whenever I accepted things and I flowed the way in a manner to mold myself, I always felt that the original part of me had left me. I felt as if that my thoughts and my ideas were not out there. Instead, I would be accepting of other people's thoughts and ideas. And in order to balance this, if ever I had a belief about a particular thing, I would hold on to it very adamantly. I never really understood this till I did my genetic brain profiling. And now I have a better understanding about the way I think. So, apart from balance, I think one of my other lessons is to, yes, have a filter, but still look at the different perspectives and be open to them. So, this was something that I learned after having done my genetic brain profiling. Coming to the other part of the nurturing environment, I've been blessed, or I've been fortunate to have had a nurturing environment when I grew up. There were I grew up in a very rich soil with the right amounts of sunlight and water, and good fertilizers, and ended up being exposed to many things which were quite of benefit to me. One of the things which I was exposed to as a child was something which was like a thread running through my life, and that was spirituality. So I come from a joint family. I've lived with my cousins, my uncle, aunt, have had lots of uncles visiting and coming and going, cousins staying over. So I've lived in a joint family, got married into a joint family as well. And one of the things in a joint family is there are other members in the family who take over things that your parents would, normally do. So my aunt was the person who would take my cousins and me. My younger brother was, of course, very young. So she would always take the three of us to many classes and, take us, bring us back home and things like that. So one of the things that she would take the three of us to was on a Sunday morning at 6 o'clock would be meditation. So she would take us for these meditation classes. It's a different matter that I would doze off at 6 o'clock, sitting there with my eyes closed, and wake up only to the the yummy smell of the delicious prasadam that was being cooked. But this was part of my childhood, and we probably started when I was 9 years old, 9, 10 years old. And this went on for some time till academics took precedence. But I will always have the image of my uncle meditating every morning and evening for an hour each. And I feel this was one of the lessons that was coming to me, to find that balance, to find that emotional balance, which would help me. Yet another thing that was part of my nurturing environment was social life. Coming from a family of professionals, two doctors in the family, we had many patients coming over for advice, relatives, family coming over for help, where I would play around with the little kids while the elders spoke to the others who had come. And I think this kind of exposed me to interactions amongst people, and this was a good nurturing for me. Physical health was yet another thing that I was exposed to as a child, where all my elders were very disciplined, whether it was eating or very disciplined where it concerned even some kind of a physical activity. And my aunt would make sure that we all would go for swimming lessons, go for basketball classes, yoga classes. We were just exposed to everything possible in that manner. And the discipline of it was another thing that we were exposed to. I was fortunate enough to have been also blessed to being exposed to traveling. My father worked in Algeria, so I was exposed to the culture of that country. We lived in Algeria and Germany for some time, so exposed to different cultures, exposed to the languages. So it kind of broadened my horizon in terms of being accepting of different cultures, learning new things, new experiences, for which I'm very grateful. Volunteer service was yet another thing, which was a big part of my life. Professionals at home to doctors at home, always part of free medical camps, free dental camps, Rotary camps, and easily at least twice a year, we would accompany either my father or my aunt just to do small things such as sitting at the counter and writing down names. But this, I think, was very impactful for me as a child to witness our elders doing it and also to be part of it in a very small way. Music was one other thing that I was exposed to as a child, and my mother used to play. My mother plays the veena, and she's a singer as well. So she made because I expressed my desire to also want to learn the veena. She made sure that I got Carnatic music lessons, and later on, I also began on my veena lessons. I still play the veena today, and if I could make a little time, I would love to get back to learning under a teacher once more. Reading was another big thing at home. Everybody at home read, whether it was my maternal grandmother or my elders or my cousins, we all read. And it could be anything. And it was a huge part of our lives. So we've done all sorts of things as hiding storybooks behind our textbooks and reading things. So reading is something that, got inculcated then. So when I look at all the exposure that I've had as a child, I understood that the neuro pathways were already formed when I was a child because I was exposed to a whole bunch of things, and these neuro pathways got the myelination of it got concreted because we did it on a regular basis, and all of these hold me in good stead even today. So when I look at my UID, you can see that I'm a 100% effective personality. Everything is an A1 except for my left prefrontal. All that which comes from an effective personality, whether it is high adaptability, I have an adaptability of almost 80%, being emulative learner and, effective completely 100%. So when I start looking at, when I take the occipitals, you can see that my right occipital is at a decent space. So spatial skills are good. I can drive through the narrow roads of Bangalore quite confidently. I understand what pieces go into what space. If I were to take an empty room, I know how to put it together. I have good pleasing aesthetics. I love coloring. I love colors. I love drawing, sketching, and I'm a Mysore painting artist. I enjoy doing Mysore paintings, and I think this has been a strength for me in the occipital. But then again, if you see my left lobe at an 8.8%, I do have a weak a left lobe in the occipital, which is one of the which causes me to not be sometimes not be very careful about the finer points. So critically observing something is a challenge for me. I overlook many things. But at the same time, reading is something that I've picked up and which I absolutely love. So hopefully I can work on the critical observation skills. But I'm very happy that when I look at my occipitals, there is a little, because of the nurturing environment that I have had, there's a few things that I have picked up there. Coming to my temporals, my right temporal is at a good pace, 10.3%. So I'm very comfortable with non-verbal cues, and I can pick the emotions in somebody's voice, understand where they're coming from. Being an effective for me, it's so important that my relationships, I'm in harmony with my relationships. I need a space which around me which is happier, which has a peaceful space. I appreciate music. I enjoy music. So my right temporal is quite comfortable. Then again, when I take my left comfortable, it is just all right, not there at the average. But I've realized one of the things that this causes in me is a hesitancy to speak. There is a hesitancy to put my thoughts out there into words. Um, Probably since being an effective personality, it is so easy to absorb many things, and because of my experiences, uh, some parts of me haven't made me very confident. And so this is one part of one part of me uh, which causes this hesitancy to speak. Of course, there's also the other effective part where I do not want to put forth my thoughts in a very straightforward manner for just for the reason that I do not want to hurt the other person or antagonize the other person. So there is a little bit of challenge there. Apart from which, managing money is also a little bit of a challenge. And then again, I'm hoping that my affective personality will, help me, and I am working on it to be, better at it. Coming to my right parietal at 10% is very comfortable in allowing me with all my full body movements. I swim very well. I've enjoyed basketball, although I don't play it anymore. By the same token, because I did not have a good rapport with my Bharatanatyam teacher, I did not take it forward. I left it halfway. But I'm also very comfortable doing sports such as skydiving or bungee jumping or rock climbing, etc. 9.4% on my left parietal is something is that part which really has been nurtured. This so we're talking about manual dexterity and we're talking about tactile, the fine motor skills, and I must say that I really enjoy chopping vegetables to the extent that I would like to see how finely I can chop them. I enjoy writing. I really learn very well by writing. In fact, if you see, my temporals are at a better space than kinesthetic, although my temporals are my go-to for learning as compared to kinesthetic. I learn better by writing. I enjoy calligraphy. I love using pencils and brushes to, express myself creatively. I'm pretty handy around the house. I change bulbs. I can change tires. I enjoy putting rangoli. I enjoy mehendi. In fact, I used to do bridal mehendi as a teenager to earn pocket money. So I attribute the whole thing to my nurturing environment. I may have been born with a 9.4%, but the environment around me helped me pick up all of these to pull it up. Coming to the parent lobes, my frontals and the prefrontals, when you take my right frontal and my left prefrontal, both of them are at a very good space. Quite comfortable communicating with people. In fact, communicating with people from all walks of life. I'm very comfortable with understanding where they're coming from. I can put myself in their shoes and really understand the emotions that they have behind which they're speaking or interacting. I empathize very well. For whatever reason, maybe because I can communicate easily with them, they too, in turn, open up to me. One of the other things that I have as a strength because of these numbers is my ability to, when I am convinced of something and I speak about it, my words carry conviction. Whether it is genetic brain profiling that I'm sharing with someone about genetic brain profiling, or whether it is marketing that I've done in my husband's office. When Because I'm convinced and because I know that it's going to benefit them, there is a conviction in my voice, and I can I know we use the word I can influence people, but I like to believe that it's going to help them, and so they pick up on that as well. Looking at my left frontal and my left prefrontal, you can see my left frontal is a bit weak. So there is a bit of a challenge trying to manage time, trying to manage resources, trying to manage money. I do face this difficulty. One of two things usually happen with my thinking here. Either I don't think at all and I jump into the doing part of it because my left prefrontal is so high, or I deliberately slow down, do my planning. But when I do my planning, it's generally done in a hurry, and then it just moves into doing. Yes, you can see that my left brain processing is pretty fast, and that's one of the reasons that I jump into doing things rather than deliberately slowing down and thinking about it and planning it out, organizing it, and then putting it across. Coming to my strongest lobe, my left prefrontal, this has been my greatest boon. I'm a doer. I am very comfortable just executing things, very comfortable in whatever needs to get done, and very also analytical. I know that these things have to go in a step-by-step manner, prioritizing things. I'm very comfortable with that. And probably because of my prefrontals being this strong, there are a whole bunch of things that I have done, which sometimes should have required a bit of thinking. And for example, the bungee jumping, I'm sure I gave my husband a mini shock when I said I'd want to bungee jump, and I just went and paid for it and I did it, and all this on my honeymoon. So yeah, so there is that part of me which doesn't think at that moment and just jumps into doing. So all in all, when I look at my chart, there is a bit of a balance, although there is an inclination on the right brain. Uh, because of my left brain processing being fast, a whole lot of tasks and yes, in academics, I've made mistakes, especially my maths and accountancy. I've made those silly mistakes because I have overlooked a whole bunch of things. But again, here, that thread which has been running through my life, which is just mindfulness, breathing in and breathing out, slowing down, um, is has helped me, especially after I've done my genetic brain profiling, has been helping me to deliberate my actions and not jump into things. Coming to my smartness profile, you can see that my cosmic is that's the highest bar that I have, my spiritual quotient. And linking, I would also like to link it to the prefrontal in a bit. One of the things about my spiritual quotient being high in my thinking is I have this belief that there is somebody out there who's much bigger than me, who I can depend on, and that faith and trust comes from there for me. I, I I believe in something that is bigger than myself, and that helps me overcome. So far, has helped me overcome all the challenges that I've had, and I have this belief that things will get better. That the optimism and the belief that comes from my spiritual quotient. The other thing that I have also understood is with my cosmic being high, whatever I do, I've always felt it needs to benefit people around me, whether it is my family, whether it is my children, whether at school or my own children or the world at large. The action that I do needs to have an impact, needs to have that benefit. And that gives me a lot of satisfaction. So the way Ratan Swami Sarji says, think globally and act locally. That's one of the things that this is one my strength. This is my strength. And I must say, one of the things that I really got to do, I really hadn't planned it, but something in me really made me want to clear up. There were these two very dirty spots in our locality, and got the idea. I just got people together, my neighbors and friends, and we cleared up those two spaces, got the corporator to build a toilet. And it just gives me a lot of satisfaction to see that together we've done some clearing around. So that benefiting others is one huge part in my mind. My second highest is my word, and this is a great strength in helping me effectively communicate with others. The other strength that I have because of this bar is that I speak many languages, and I comfortably pick up languages. My mother tongue is Marathi, and I Hindi, which is spoken nationally. I can read, write, speak. I can read, write, speak Kannada. Um, I picked up Tamil after my marriage because my in-laws and my husband have their roots in Mylapore, Chennai. I've picked up Telugu because we would go to Puttaparthi often, to the extent that I'm comfortable counseling in these languages. Picked up German because otherwise I could not play with my cousin and her friends. And it's just interesting how these just remain in my mind. And even if I have not spoken it, it just, when I have to have just a general conversation, it pops back into my mind. I'm also a very creative storyteller. I can, whether it was my children at home or children in school, I can pick up on a topic and reel off a story, very imaginative and creative. And I enjoy the storytelling. That's another part of me, and I use storytelling as a tool in my class to help children learn certain values or certain skills that I'd like to put it forward to them in the form of a story. My third highest is logic, and this has helped me work in a very analytical manner. So to say that I've always been called a very practical person, and I completely understand and I can infer the actions and the consequences, the causes. I know what needs to be put ahead of time, and I'm very in my thinking. I'm quite efficient, and I can get the work done pretty efficiently. Um, Apart from this, there is just one more bar that I wanted to also talk about, which is the self. That's at 11.4%, which is still a pretty good space. But one of the things as an effective personality, which I have experienced, is that effective personalities emulate, and they are and they absorb. Their filters are nil, and so because of that they pick up positive around them and just as easily also negative. Because of my experiences that I've had, certain portions have caused this sense in me which has brought my self confidence down a little bit. Although it's at 11.4%, sometimes I feel little less confident than I am, and I know and understand that it becomes so important then for a water personality to learn to put their what you say, the filters, to learn to have barriers to understand before they completely accept things, because affective personalities just accept things on face value. The bars which have the lower numbers, people, body, music, picture, I feel have all been nurtured as a during my childhood, and I feel these numbers have grown up, and I must say that they've all held me in. They've all been so helpful for me and held me in good stead all through my life. Here, I would like to share my parents' report, because, again, like I said, I think for an effective personality, a nurturing environment is the most, fortunate thing that can happen, because it does help, uh, personalities who are effective in nature. You can see I have my parents also have a lot of affectives in them with a sprinkling of the X's and R's. My mother, a complete affective personality, she's given me all her genes, and a very gentle person, a very kind soul, very tolerant. And I think these are the qualities that I have learned from my mother. This is what she's given me, to be gentle, to be kind, and to be very tolerant. Although sometimes I do feel I wish I had a bit of a questioning mind as well. So you can see that the left parietal and my mother's left prefrontal is pretty high. My mother's very comfortable doing things. She is very good at crochet, very good at knitting, very good with her cooking, and anything that requires a lot of handwork, she's very good with it. And she gets right down to doing it. There is no dilly-dallying about it for her. She is musically very inclined, although her numbers are at a decent space. Her affective nature has pulled her up there. She's part of a group that chants Vedas in temples. She's part of a group that chants bhajans at the temples. And in her own way, she is a very she's a leader of her own group, and she's quite content with all that she is doing. Um, so that's my mother. My father was this is this larger than life personality in my life. He is this amazing person who's multifaceted. He is an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. very skilled in his skills in reconstruction surgeries. He's been conferred on of a Lifetime Achievement Award in oral and maxillofacial surgery. He's been the editor of All India Journal for Dental Sciences. His textbook is the book that fourth year dental students refer to, the book that he has written. He's an amazing artist. He has been a sportsman as a college going person as a teenager. Played cricket, played table tennis. He picked up golf about 7 years ago and is doing amazing well. Uh, he um, he was picked up by a surgeon from Germany for the skills that he had and given a scholarship to study in Germany. Um, and he's been the Rotarian president of Central Rotary here in Bangalore, a Freemason, very social, and very good with his resources. With his frontals being so high, he's exceptionally good with his resources. And I must say, one of the childhood memories I have is that we would be the first people to be sitting at a wedding reception. Even the bride and the groom would not have arrived. And my dad would make sure that we were already there on time. So my father's, I think one of the things that I just looked up to my father and probably, absorbed or tried to, I picked up a whole bunch of things from him. My love for drawing, sketching, painting comes from him. My ability to persist and do things come from him. He's a very determined person. Um, um, I didn't pick up so much on the sports, but a very disciplined man picked up on something. So I think my father and my mother were, apart from my uncle and aunt, were a huge part of my nurturing environment. To say. Would also like to share my husband's report. Um, um, so again, you see, there's a lot of effectiveness there, with just a bit of sprinkling of the integrative, so a little bit of cognitive there. My husband is a very loving person, extremely creative, and his creativity shows up in four spaces. One of the spaces that it shows up in cooking. He's this amazing cook who can cook for almost say 50 to 100 people, and very creative in his cooking. And if you were to ask him what are the ingredients, he definitely wouldn't know. He would have just put a little bit of this, little bit of that, and he's just made this delicious concoction. He can handle the whole thing by himself, doesn't need anybody to help him with that. His creativity also shows up in the space of music, and he's learned to play the harmonium. He's a trumpet player, learned under a very famous jazz artist, Maynard Ferguson. He's composed many BGMs for bhajans and CDs, and edited and brought out CDs. He was part of this alumni band which would perform for charities at hospices and orphanages and old age homes. And one of the amazing things, the talent that he has is, you give him any song, whether it is Malayalam, English, Hindi, whichever, he can easily pick the raga of that song, and he can tell you the arohan and avarohan of it. So this is something that he's had, and because of his effective personality and the nurturing that he's had in his childhood, this is something that has remained with him. Even now, he can just do it at the snap of his fingers. His creativity also shows up in his work. He and my father-in-law have an acoustics business, and my husband creates works of art in architectural acoustics. I like to call them works of art because they're so beautiful. They're aesthetically beautiful, and they're very functional. In fact, he was mentioned by our past president, Abdul Kalamji, in one of his speeches, and I think his creativity there was something that was expressed so beautifully. Um, I'm bringing in these reports just for us to understand, because one of the biggest strengths an effective personality can have is a nurturing environment. Once the environment is conducive to the individual who's effective, the potential just it just blossoms. Their whole personality blossoms, and it's so beautiful to see how it can either go the way that it has done for my husband, where he has his potential has blossomed, or for me that matter. But again, like the way it has for me, where my self, although is at a good number, has been pulled down because of my experience and the effectiveness in me, of not having had filters, so to speak. My girls, all effective, except the younger one, Medha, who has an X there. But otherwise, yes, both of them have a huge sprinkling of effectiveness in them. One of the things that GBP helped me so much, which was actually the starting point of the journey that Rina and I have had, was taking Medha to Hanumanji's wife for French lessons, to Sucheta for French lessons, which is when we were exposed to genetic brain profiling. And here I understood that, I could not, I would always tell my children, you learn much better when you write. When you write, you learn much better. It's not just listening, and it's not just sitting in class. Writing is a biggest strength, so you must write. My older one, because of her effectiveness and having seen me write, or her wanting to follow what I said, picked it up, and she learns much better by writing. Whereas my younger one would find it very difficult, although she would follow it. After doing genetic brain profiling, I understood that she was an auditory learner. She learned much better as an auditory learner. And so it was wonderful that I could understand this and let my children find their way, and find their own inherent ability, depend on their own inherent strength, to learn and to take themselves forward. Because a lot of times, I would insist on things which I felt was right. You know, what I spoke about earlier, the belief in me, which what I believed in and I thought was right, I would insist that they learn it in that particular way. But one of the biggest things that genetic brain profiling did was to understand that my children are individuals in their own right, and they have their own inherent ways, and which they should explore, and which they should learn by. Both my girls have, I've tried to give them a very nurturing environment. Both of them, the interesting thing is, with my older one, Veda, occipitals being low, uh, exposed to reading. In our house, everybody reads, and I'm very happy to say that both my girls read a lot. I think that's something wonderful to have in your life, reading. Both my girls play the violin. It's very interesting how each of them has taken it. The older one plays just for her joy, and fiddles around with it in her own way. The younger one took up exams and is interested in taking it forward. So, um, but one thing that I see with my girls or my husband, or what I have received in my parents, is that we are all doers. We're blessed to have prefrontals which are strong, and this helps us, put many things into action, which is a blessing. Coming to the last part of it, my ikigai. This is what I have done, and I thought I must share this with everybody. I am as a teenager, I always had this thought that I must do something which is of service. I wanted to do something in the volunteering field. I wanted to do something in the NGOs. But somehow, when it came to the point of picking my subjects for graduation, this did not come to my mind. I did not remember this, and I ended up doing my BA in economics, marketing, and accountancy. Of course, economics is the highest bar that I have in my chart. And the marketing is something that I'm very comfortable with because if I'm convinced, I am very comfortable doing it. Of course, with accountancy, as with maths, I had all those small mistakes which I would not watch out for. Having done my BA, on the advice of a good family friend, I signed up for doing my law and company secretary exams because this was a very good combination, and 20, you could say 20, 25 years ago, there were not many people who were picking this up together as a field. And needless to say, I passed all my law exams and I did not clear any of my company secretary exams. I think which is a very good thing in one manner. I got married and I worked in my husband's company, Lotus Energy Systems, under the sales and marketing. I was also helping with the ESI and the PF work. This marketing was a little comfortable because I was very convinced that the product that our company brought out, whether it was solar rooftop solutions or acoustics, noise control, noise pollution control, was something that was benefiting people. Later on, after children, I slowly got back to working and I became a value educator. I would teach the children around my house, teach children in Sharda Mat, values coming from shloka, the story behind it, helping them understand how they could incorporate those values in their life in a very small way. Um, it was a blessing. I got, sort of selected to work in Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences as a volunteer. It is a pre-tertiary level hospital, and I got trained as a person-centered counselor. People from all over India, from the world, coming from poverty-ridden backgrounds, would come to the hospital for cardiac surgeries and neurosurgeries. And as a person-centered counselor, we were trained to helping them find their spiritual awareness integration. So the whole idea was to empower the patients so that when they went back home, they would be strong enough to face the challenges that they'd had to. This was something that I felt a great sense of fulfillment doing. Um, then I joined MiDNA School as a life skills facilitator. So my value education and helping children, understand how they could, incorporate life skills in their life. Going down to the level of the younger children, I had the freedom for making my own curriculum and teaching the primary section. It was beautiful. I found a lot of satisfaction working with the children, as I did with the patients in the hospital. Um, Next came my phase of teaming up with my good friend, and both of us now counsel children and adolescents, and it is such a passion with us. We want to do all that we can to help children and adolescents, especially now in the times that we live in, of the whole world of internet. Last but not the least, I trained in genetic brain profiling. So when I look back at all this that I have done, it's very interesting how a whole bunch of things in me have helped, and pieces of puzzle have come together. The left prefrontal, which requires the which has the sense of the fulfillment that my prefrontals got, and fulfilling that curiosity, that investigativeness, the analyzing, the understanding, the empathizing, working with people. This was a huge benefit for me. Second thing was my sense of wanting to work with children, work with my sense of wanting to work with people, the right brain part of me, connecting with people, understanding them, and empathizing with them was another puzzle that fit in. The Yet another thing which sort of brought the whole thing together, I would say, was my cosmic. And for me, the biggest satisfaction uh, came from using what I had to help others, using the strengths in me to do something which would benefit people. And I have understood that anything that I do, it needs to come from that space, and that is what gives me that satisfaction completely. Of course, there is that what you can be paid for as well, but when you have all three, what you're good at, what you love, what you can be paid for, for me the missing piece was what the world needs. And I'm very happy that I found my ikigai finally, after having all those misses and turns with accountancy and company secretaryship that I was planning to do. So I feel in my life the biggest lesson that I'm still learning, which I'm quite happy about, because life is not about being static and it's about being dynamic, is still balance, balance emotionally, balance in my processing. Just finding that balance for me is my life's greatest lesson. I would like to thank you all for a very patient hearing, for being with me here today as I went through this journey of self-discovery. Thank you so much.
We loved it totally, ma'am. We have no words to thank you. It was like so polite, so magical, so inspiring, so peaceful, so grounded. And I will feel short of words. And you can go on and on and on and on. And the whole world will love to listen to you. And one more secret magic which I love about brain profiling, your whole family and a lot of secrets got decoded, and you are at peace with your daughters not moving or talking or feeling more right brained. इस बात के क्यों feel कर रही हो? Because you are stronger with your left prefrontal. And the magical creativity and the cooking of your husband and the magic of D and the DX. He is super, super, super magical. He is your strength. He is a role model in so many ways. And I am truly thankful to you for coming back and pursuing your teaching, value education, etc., and brain profiling, of course, without law and other things. Because we may study anything. Ultimately, we find happiness and magic and success and the fulfillment like you found. So you are a beautiful example. कुछ भी
Thank you
पढ़ लो,
so much.
खुशी तो वहीं आएगी जहाँ पर्सनालिटी है. So it's a beautiful lesson for everyone. Thank you so much, Shumal ji. Lord, universe, nature will keep showering blessings on you, and you are a role model for us, and you will keep inspiring many millions. Why? Because of your left prefrontal and the golden heart, which I always say for all effective champions who are chosen by God. And your daughters will equally outshine you in many, 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 many ways because they are also loving souls, helping souls, sacrificing souls. Now it's time that we invite everyone to shower blessings on you in abundance. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Sunny. Thank you.
Hello, Shimaji. This is Prabha Muthakrishnan. It was like, touching every string to play your tune. I should say that you held everybody wrapped through all through the presentation. And what a journey. All smiles to reach many miles. Stay blessed, Shimaji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhaji. Thank you.
Shumal, this is Bhuvana. Hi.
Hello,
Your
Bhuvanaji.
presentation was very nice. And at a steady pace, you were very, very calm and collected and did a wonderful job. I like the way you said being an effective personality, your nurturing was good. And you were nurtured with rich soil and enough nutrients. Now that is such a wonderful statement you made, because yes, completely effective personality, if the nurturing is not good, then they are in for trouble. And at the moment, I am counseling one such lady who's very, very nice. All her lobes are very well endowed, completely A, intelligent, everything is there, but nurturing was not there. And she's been through a divorce and she's going through hell in life. All self-made problems because of bad nurturing. So it's so good that you're lucky that you've been born to, in a blessed home, and you yourself are high in spirituality. And that's how you've been able to recognize the blessings that you're born with. So it was a wonderful presentation that you gave us. And I wish you all the best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Bhuvanaji. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the MiDNA family.
Thank you.
MiDNA leaders. Great. Now we move on. Thank you, Bhuvana ma'am. Now we move on to our new participants who have lots to share about their learnings. Rekha ji, Anjali ma'am.
Yeah, hi Shumalji. It was very nice listening to you, very affectionate, and it was very gentle. And I could see, as Bona ma'am said, that nurturing, it shows how you have been nurtured, and blessed are your daughters. You have been nurturing them. I'm sure the whole family is like a blessing because of you, affectionate. Your daughters are affectionate, and I'm glad to see that. And your flexibility is so high, and how you used it for your own productivity and your own family, that amazes me. Being flexible sometimes brings us to some kind of problems, but you have used it very flexibly, and you have used it for your own nurturing and nurturing of the family. That I really liked it. Blessed are your family members. I'm sure, as you said, it's a dynamic, life is dynamic and it keeps moving. I'm sure it will be great for you. Thank you. All the very best.
Thank you so much, Rekha ji. Thank you.
Rekha ji is cognitive, so she loves others' flexibility. Amazing. Thank you.
Yes,
And now,
Aniji.
yeah, I knew you will laugh and we all learn from each other. And you are cosmically intelligent, just like ma'am. So now I go on to Anjali ma'am. Shumalji is in her pose of receiving all the blessings. And she's so filled with happiness. She's so balanced. Anjali ma'am, are you there?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. This is my second session attending who is sharing their self-discovery 2.0. So I'm taking inside, ma'am. I'm learning it just simply. I'm here just to appreciate you, to admire you people, because since I have started my learning, and a few things that I realized when you were sharing. For example, I was thinking about my adaptiveness level, my A1 for everything, like my flexibility thinking and everything. I'm learning it from your sharing. I have recognized myself and I started to learn so much, ma'am. Thank you for the inspiration. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Anjali ji. Thank you.
From self-discovery to everyone's discovery. Wow. Now comes our dear dad, father, grandfather, the brain scientist, Ratna Swami sir.
Yeah, thank you, Shumal. Really, as usual, great teacher you are. Very nice. You are the way you have put forward. I think every week it's really unique and different. So sometimes it is so much of conflicts and conflicts everywhere, and people are discovering themselves to a better extent. Realization comes, but this week it was like having a cup of a cold, I would say, beverage kind of feeling going through very gently into our throat. Very nice to hear. Some points I just wanted to connect for the benefit of the audience who are listening. If you notice in your profile, your right prefrontal wasn't very strong, but you did say a lot of creative things you are doing, in your childhood, and you are continue to do. Here, I just wanted to add on one point for others, better understanding of their understanding of genetic brain profiling. That is because your frontal lobe and all the three compartments of the right sensory, the four compartments on the right side is quite strong. So as a child, being an affective child, I think a lot of impact has happened in that area that is actually mimicking like a right prefrontal. So in my personal understanding, and probably I would say that this high adaptiveness, where 100% affective, anything magically is possible. So we should not really pay too much attention to the percentages just because it is 9.4 and kind of thing, because all the 10 compartments belong to the same family. So naturally the nurturing would happen very comfortably. There is no conflict. If you notice, your harmony index must be close to 95 or even more than that, I don't know. So somewhere that is what it says. When the harmony index is higher, then the nurturing is happening like a cooperative society. Everybody gives and takes and adjusts with themselves. So I think that's one magic, that though your right prefrontal, if you look into the multiple intelligences, it looked more like the right side of the brain. The intelligences were little lower in number. The left side wasn't very, were quite stronger. So the learning today for everyone is, if your adaptiveness is very high and if your harmony index is very high, I think you are more likely to get benefit because of the symphony between the compartments that helps you to improvise by taking advantage of the nurturing environment. And I totally agree with Bhavana ji that when you are 100% effective, your parents or your schooling and your teachers, and they have a great role, and you can be a magical wand if you are nurtured very rightly. In fact, rather in a joint family, the the 100% effective is always getting a big advantage, because everybody is mimicking themselves, and you being 100% emulative learner, you are more likely to pick up the best of everything. That is the that's the good thing about 100% effective or 100% emulative, is that you get motivated by people's performance, and then even if they are not impacting on you, you tend to take it for yourself. Whereas the reflective, somebody has to say, look at here and do this way. But when it comes to the effective 100%, you don't need to tell, learn from others. They themselves learn from themselves because of the self-starting ability of the 100% effective they have. So your left prefrontal has been a big blessing for you. You explored and you picked up very smartly all those things, and you have filled, developed well. So I would attribute your left prefrontal, the right frontal, and the right side of the brain So all your both the left brain and right brain got rightly nurtured. One with the left prefrontal, the other one with the right frontal and the right sensory system, along with the great, performance that you have encouraged by others, and you got into that, and then you naturally become a, performer on your own. And I'd just like to add one more point, and you can conclude today's session is, now I am remembering your father's two capital X. I think if you find capital X, I think you just wait for the rocking, and it really happens. I would continue to believe that whether when there is a small x and the capital X, childhood is bit of challenge, but adulthood is really rocking, because they figure out something out of the blue, and they just do that magical trick. Really, if somebody who is new to genetic brain profiling looks up to your father's performances and the brain design, they would definitely get confused with it. Okay, but what way they don't believe or they don't understand is, when you have a capital X, it is it can do any magic at any given point of time. And this is a second candidate that we have come across. The other one is a LinkedIn professional who is a female, and her uploads in the LinkedIn is listless, or so much of that. And I think second is your father with the two capital X. And the one point which you said very interestingly, and I want it to be connected also for the newcomers in the family, is when you have a capital X in the prefrontal lobe, then your frontal lobe gets so much of power, because the prefrontal is not, as a child, is not getting engaged, or energy is not being wasted there. That is the reason why your father took all of you to a marriage even before the bride and the groom would come there. So that's a very interesting learning, because of so much of processing that is happening there. The prefrontal being capital X always want to do something totally different and unique. Yeah, to some it would look like very cranky, but then that is the way the designs are, and that's something we can very easily connect with the capital X in the prefrontal lobe. So once again, though your report is what we call as a very simplified report, but you have very I would say interestingly, you have put forward others' reports and given an excellent explanation to their designs by connecting with their practical I would say life experience and all. So very nice, and very happy to have had your sessions today. And I would consider that you are all quite senior to MiDNA family. So this is something it can be expected from you, and you have done even better than what I had expected. Thank you very much, Shumal, and all
Thank
the
you
best.
so much.
Yes,
Thank
and we all know that you have a 100% effective mentor as well. So I think all three of you have done this magic excellently well. Thanks to Hanumanji for brought in two amazing souls to MiDNA family. And as I said last week, the highest number of scans have been done by somebody who have not taken any ledger is these two queens of Bangalore, as Sunny says. And stay blessed. All the best. All the best once again. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, Ratna Samit. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. Bye.